What's going on, everybody? This is the Blockchain Backer, bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Today, we'll have a quick kind of end-of-week wrap-up of what's going on in the cryptocurrency market, things I'll be watching into the end of the week, including things here on the Bitcoin price chart, and of course over here on the XRP price chart. But one of the things I'm also paying attention to is the Dow Jones Industrial Average, or the US stock market, which has caught a bounce this week. Now, each of the last 2 weeks, we've witnessed something similar to this, where we get big price action, then it turns right back over on itself. Currently, it's Thursday right now, about halfway through the day. We're plenty above the 200-week moving average. But what we've seen each week has been that on Friday, even on Thursdays, we see it just kind of turn around and revert right back down below. Right now, the Dow is about 800 points above the 200-week moving average. And while just looking through the last several weeks, there's definitely been times where swings of that magnitude have happened within a day. Just the entire daily swing here last Friday was pretty much about 800 points on the button. Now, my personal thoughts when I look at the 200-week moving average is I'm not really looking at it to be some type of like, hey, we reclaimed this and the bull market's back on. I think it's more of just the worry of what the resistance of the 200-week moving average could be. I know the most popular thing that people like to do is we have recency bias. So anytime we have a big pull down, we go try to find the last big crash that we had and we look to the last one. And the most common one always referenced to this one is the most recent one, the Great Financial Crisis, rather than all the crashes that we've had throughout history. Everybody goes back to the Great Financial Crisis. But even in there, right, we saw it too. You saw that the 200-week moving average ended up becoming this really big resistance, not able to get back through, and then the plunge took place. So getting back above there doesn't really give any type of like, hey, the skies are all clear from here, but it does remove like the worry, at least, of we're doing something like that, hey, you know, it's got to get rejected here by this 200-week moving average, and then it's gloom and doom time. So really that's more of my thoughts when it comes to the 200-week. But we have until tomorrow to be able to get closed above it. And the last 2 weeks, we've gotten plenty above it, and then it ends up losing it. So really just looking for more so signs of things that we can at least start doing some type of retracement here out of the Dow as we go into the weekend. You may be thinking to yourself, why are we talking about the weekend? It's Thursday. Yep, I am going to be off tomorrow. I do have something planned this weekend. And it doesn't seem to matter how many times we talk about it here for Bitcoin. It still is just stuck in this range now. We are on day 37, working on day 38 of this $2,000 range that Bitcoin has been stuck in. Of course, we spent Monday really kind of diving into that, discussing the big debate on where people think we are within Bitcoin's crash, fall, bear market, initial fall, whatever you want to call it, whether or not we are mimicking something back to 2018 and 2014. Or we had a moment where we're like at 6K right now and it crashes to 3K like it did back then, which, you know, you lose 50% from where you're currently at right now. That gets you down to like 10. And really, it actually cut itself in half from the low. So the low's at 17.6. So if you cut yourself in half from there, that would take you down to 8,800. But still, we just wait for Bitcoin to at least get out of this $2,000 range so we can at least have something to talk about when it comes to Bitcoin. While most would consider us to be in a moment like this right in here, I presented the case that it seems more likely we're in a moment like here. But even so, while we've been pointing to that for 4 months at this point now, ever since June, we could see that us pausing out in here, waiting in this moment, that's also what was in the cards at that time too. So it does just seem like, hey, you know, we could be in here for a little while, and that would be the most bullish scenario. So if you're a bull on Bitcoin, right? Think of it this way. If you're a bull on Bitcoin and, you know, you think we're doing your typical, you know, you got one more to go, I want to buy prices just a little bit cheaper. Understand where we're at right now. At 4 months of working out this range right in here, we've gone through quite a bit of consolidation. If you're thinking we got to go down one more leg once again, well, you can start your clock all over again, right? Hey, let's get prices a little bit cheaper. Let's add 4 more months. Let's add 8 more months. So I don't know. I like the fact that we've been in here for as long as we have. Just from how Bitcoin has behaved historically, it's the thing that has happened in this time moment. And also that when we spent all of 2020 and 2021 looking for the top to come in because the belief was that we were in a grand super cycle and that this was not the beginning of some new major massive thing happening in here, but that we were just going to go on and finish off the end of Bitcoin super cycle. the ending was this exact ending happening in here. After we've even worked out these price levels in here, this is the same fractal to work in here. Obviously, there was way more distribution that happened in here. No parabolic top that comes in here, but the on-chain data matched the same thing. And Coinbase IPO'd right there on April 14th. And then we're just working our way in here. So far, it's so good. If it breaks down lower, it's going to create a whole new set of issues to happen here for Bitcoin. But while we sit here flat, it's nothing fun. It's nothing fun as a content creator to come on here and say, hey, welcome to day 37 of the same range. But, looking at how it is, that's just what we've got. And hopefully we're approaching closer to the end than the beginning. Doesn't show that we're quite there just yet. And fingers crossed, it does hold. But an even wilder moment would come, because I've been contemplating this, right? If we are going into Wyckoff accumulation, the next thing we're going to have to talk about is that what happens if we finally break from that range, right? You're going to start seeing a lot of excitement erupt in the market, right? But then you have to start kind of getting a little bit worried about the Wyckoff ending that comes back and wicks itself right back down again. So there's still phases ahead of us to keep our eyes on. And right now, we're still just going through here to see if we can hold these lows that were set back there in June, or do we start going on and then make our spring? It was anticipated this moment would be boring, it would be long, but based on time, it appears we're definitely over halfway through. And before we know it, this moment will be behind us. And I know that for certain because I went through this whole thing. I went through all of it. And I went through all the moments everybody's talking about where we went from 6K down to 3K. I remember it. I've got my whole emotional log written on it on what that time was like. I've gone through all of these. I remember all this stuff. I even remember XRP community, little Easter egg. You guys remember it too. Remember when Queen, Don't Stop Me Now, Variable Guy 1, 2, 3, it was all happening right there in that moment, right in there. Probably only a select few people who remember that. And of course, C19 and all this stuff, right? So we've been through all of it. This seems like a long time period. Making YouTube videos, I know going through these periods, these periods, they last a long time and we get stuck in repetitive discussions. But before we know it, we're out of them and we've moved on from them. And we're just in that moment right now. And before we know it, it'll be over. But while we are still waiting on here for Bitcoin, let's talk about a couple of concerning things that I see in the market right now is that we all know Bitcoin's been below this 200-week moving average. In each capitulation that Bitcoin has had historically, it gets back to that 200-week moving average, gets back to that 200-week moving average. It's definitely pierced it before. It's had these times where it can come close of several candles below it down in here, but never where it just like gets below it, finds it as resistance, and then goes plunging for another level, right? So we know that's as deep as we are right now over here on Bitcoin. A plunge even deeper from right in here, that does beg the question on what happens to Bitcoin long term. Has it been a long-term trend change that has actually happened here in Bitcoin? Some of the other moving average all-time high things we've been watching in here for Bitcoin have been like the total altcoin market cap, which at this time, we've seen this, right? We've seen that it can go dip below it, close below it, then works its way back up and violates through it all the time. But we could see that this time it actually did find it a support, and the daily candle closes from back in 2018 were the hold level. At this time, it still is sitting over here on top of the 200-week moving average. But it's interesting, though, because we see Bitcoin's well below it. The total market cap of all of crypto has now crept its way right through it. And it's been holding it as some support here, or excuse me, testing it as some resistance right in here. And so this is kind of a, watch this. Has this been some type of back test coming back in here? Something to keep our eyes on, right? So my thought process is if Bitcoin takes out 17,600, we will see a bloodbath in the cryptocurrency market. We are already getting some warning signs from the super weak altcoins that some of them are setting new lows. I'm not going to try to guess where those new lows are going to come in for those altcoins because I've been through these moments right in here. I've seen the whole altcoin market hold the bottom here in December of 2018, never sets a new low beyond that. But you see a divergence happen throughout the market where you have weakness go to some, you have strength go to others. And right now we're starting to see something similar like that happening in the altcoin market right now, where some are strong, some are weak. But those ones that are already breaking down, those are of concern to me. The ones that have already taken out their June lows, and they could go much lower if they keep it up. And especially if Bitcoin takes out 17,600. And if this is an actual resistance getting placed in here by the total market cap of crypto. Again, the altcoin market, sitting on top of it, just fine. Sitting on top of the previous all-time high, just fine. We know Bitcoin's a major contributor to the total market cap of crypto, which is well below its 200-week moving average. But something to take notice of, it has crept below it. It appears to have backtested it, and now it's still hovering down here. So we'll watch for that next week. Moving averages can have nuances to them because the reality is we haven't broken down below into new price levels at this point, right? We're merely just taking an indicator and saying, what is the average price of the last 200-week candle closes? And we're saying, hey, that average price is higher. We're now on the south side of that moving average. As we saw, the daily candle closes ended up being support, even right back in there. Boy, it just barely did it. Just barely. Still, market makers by the end of the week closed it right there above the 200-week moving average, opened the new week, and they push it right back up. But we could see that it has crept back down below it. So it's on the radar that that is a new element happening for the total market cap of crypto. Has not broken new levels, but enough time has elapsed and we've gone sideways here for this long that it has now bypassed us. So again, you go take out these levels over right here, I would think it gets really ugly in the cryptocurrency market. Like we talked about earlier in the week, we saw back in 2018, which, a lot of people are thinking we're right here in this moment, right in here. But we've talked about the fractal that emerged from the high. Anybody who's watched the channel, it's nothing new. We've talked about how we had bear market fractals appearing and bear market behavior appearing from the legitimate all-time high for Bitcoin, just like we had already been way deep into that moment already happening from way up in here. And we watched this for a long time, right? We saw the market behavior. We watched exactly how it played out. And it literally even followed time happening in here, right? So the thing is, like, look to this moment right in here. We can see that sometimes a 200-day moving average can be resistance on the upper bound, right? And what was so interesting is, there's your 200-day moving average. This moment right here, same fractals. Did not reach as high, but what did it do? The exact same thing, back to the 200-day moving average. And then like we discussed last week, in both circumstances, it plunged 63% in 2018 and 63% here in 2022. So they can have reactionary levels because we just witnessed it happen in two different crashes. But the question is, when you creep through one like this, are we really finding it as resistance? That's the thing we'll be keeping our eyes on. But still, so long as we hold the level currently, I stick with this thesis of what is happening for Bitcoin. We take out a new low, go back to the drawing board, but this is where my thought process is still. Moving on to XRP. As we've discussed over the last several weeks, just that there's been such a major resistance right in here. Yeah, we were able to get above that 200-week moving average, but there was still concerns there that sellers would show up in a big way at this point right now since we're underneath this resistance level right in here. The support that held for over a year, we're underneath it, testing it as a resistance level. It's not just over here on the XRP USD chart, but also on the XRP versus Bitcoin price chart as we got back to the 200-week moving average, which we haven't seen since 2019. We discussed about this last couple of weeks, that this is a place where sellers like to go bananas at as we've gotten back to here for the first time. Get a clean break through this thing, hey, that opens up the doors for excitement. But definitely considering we're at the resistance here on the XRP versus Bitcoin price chart, and that we're at the resistance for the XRP versus USD price chart on the weekly timeframes, definitely a price of concern. I've discussed my thesis on XRP is that, if it is bullish, right, this sign of strength breakout level is really the most popular place that we do see pull downs happen to, and they can take a long time to drag out. It's something for the 22.5 centers out there. If you guys remember correctly, that's what we were dealing with during the 22.5 cent pull down. That took us quite a while to get to, and then we hovered there for a long time before the breakout ended up coming. Took a long time in there. My thought process still sticks with that. That's our bet. That would be a good thing. And if we do pull back down in there, I always talked about the conflict within myself of saying that. It's like, yeah, a 30% fall would be good. How do you make a YouTube video and tell people that a 30% would be good? But it's just because I'm looking from the much bigger time frame. First of all, if it pulls back down in here, there's still going to be the worry, are we going to hold here, right? If Bitcoin breaks into new lows, if the total market cap breaks into the lows, and the cryptocurrency market in general just starts crumbling down in there, and XRP goes and takes and just crushes through these levels, it would be a big concern. But my big thought process on it is, I'm here for long term for XRP, and I've been that way for several years. I know that we've seen this structure before because we've been talking about it for a long time. This is very similar to what Bitcoin's completed bear market looked like for Bitcoin, and on a very similar amount of time frame. Structurally, everything about it, very similar. It got back right in here, and then it did just like what we're seeing right in here. And then Bitcoin actually went on, and it went on up into retracement levels from here, just like that. That would be very exciting for a lot of people. A lot of people would think that's a great thing. But the only problem is that would make me really concerned that we would actually still have to work our way back down here over time, having kind of a crash, retrace, reaccumulation before then we could finally go, and that we wouldn't see anything happen for bigger prices for XRP for years to come, or at least a year to come. But if we go ahead and close out this gap right now, if XRP is bullish on a bigger time frame and we close out this gap right now, then it can remove the requirement or the concern for me that we have to come back and visit it again another time, because typically we do. And so as another week passes by, we still don't get the answer from XRP. So we didn't spend a whole lot of time talking about it. The exciting thing for XRP is on October 31st, we have NFTs coming to the XRP Ledger, so long as we could stay above 80% over here on non-fungible tokens V1_1 amendment. That's exciting. I think that'll draw a lot of attention to XRP, create a lot of excitement within the XRP community once again, because we have not had much of that over the last couple of years, dealing with all the issues we've had to deal with in regards to exchanges, the SEC and Ripple, and just delay. And then in typical XRP fashion, when we were supposed to have the amendment last time, it got delayed. So of course, everybody's like, okay, are we going to get it this time? Are we ever going to get some good news? I choose to remain optimistic that we will. But if I could have it my way, I'd be like, hey, let's just go hit that really quick and then let's go. So I don't have to worry about it anymore. But otherwise, we're still just stuck here, right? So that was just another week of XRP passing by and being in that range, waiting to get a decision to happen here on the price chart. But super typical that we come back in here and hit our sign of strength in there, of course, between that, 37, 38, 39 cent area, which we've been pointing to for getting close to a month now. But I know everybody's pretty excited about NFTs coming to the XRP Ledger. And we'll spend a lot more time next week as we kind of get this first week under our belt. And then next week, really kind of ramping up, preparing for it, and see what cool stuff is coming to the XRP Ledger. But as another week passes us by in the cryptocurrency market, another week within the range for Bitcoin in here. As I head on to an extended weekend, I need to work on my shorts game. So I know people are putting out lots of those 15, 30-second shorts. So I'll try to get a little bit better at that. And then if anything, interesting happens, I can make a quick short, a little 30-second clip. So that's something I'll try to work on this weekend, see if I can get better at doing those. I did one of them like a month ago, but we'll see if we can get better at those. Till then, we just sit here waiting, and we'll see how the stock market closes tomorrow afternoon. Each week for the last several weeks, the last day of the week has been volatile. So I'll be over there on Twitter. I'll see if I can put together a short clip over here on YouTube. Otherwise, I want to wish you all a wonderful weekend, as we now have another week in the books of prices remaining stuck in the range for Bitcoin. It will eventually break out. There will be a point where something dramatic happens. We're just waiting for that moment to come. And it wasn't this week, but maybe it'll be next. But all right, follow me over here on Twitter at BCBacker. You can check out my newsletter on Substack, which is blockchainbacker.substack.com. There is a link in the description of this video. You will notice I have no sponsors. I have no affiliate links here on my channel, which gives me the ability to say whatever I want. But if you'd like to support the channel and get additional content from me, you can over there on the newsletter. I want to wish you all a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much for watching. If you could, please like this video and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you could be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice, and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.